Angeloni, and welcome to We All Have Shit, the only bi-weekly podcast that tries to take an honest look at what ails us and moves us forward into the lives we lead. Our show can be accessed through our YouTube channel, the We All Have Shit podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the WAHS podcast channel to not miss an episode, and ring that bell to get notifications. We will conduct our show with comfort, realism, and sensitivity. And we will do our best to be brief, to the point, and real. Anything that might be difficult for us is on the table. We are all human, and we all have things in common. Moreover, we were created to exist in a social context and to help each other as best we can. This will not be a bitch fest, nor a complaint zone, nor a place for negativity. Rather, we will strive to maintain positivity and enthusiasm during the challenges we face, because life is here and life is now. Finally, while I may have been a trained and experienced professional counselor in a past life, this is not me now, and this is not our show. This will not be a glorified pop culture counseling session. Rather, we will simply do our best to shed some light on our troubles, talk about how we are dealing with them, and hopefully make some positive contributions to the world around us. So, welcome everyone to our show, and thank you for joining us today. This is a special episode, a promotional episode, if you will. We have coming up next Saturday, May 10th, at the Blakely Borough Recreation Complex, we have an MS Walk event. You could walk, you could run, you could bike, whatever you would like to do, but we are doing that as a fundraiser. So everybody is welcome to come. Thank you for your support. In the past, since I've been diagnosed, and if anybody's tuned into our show in the past, you might be aware of this to an extent. So we've had some efforts in the past. We had a bike ride event. We had a walk event. The bike ride was us, ourselves. We kind of created that grassroots kind of thing. But the National MS Society had a walk locally in Scranton, and it was wonderful to be there for it. And we raised some money for it, and it was great. However, it ended. So the National Society felt that it wasn't a good way, a good use of their resources. So they pulled out of it. But they encouraged individual people to continue on with fundraising efforts however they might like. So this is our effort to do that. So we've been promoting it for a few weeks now through Facebook, Instagram, in our family, friends circle, things like that. So we're in the process of doing that. But we just got notice, and we put this on our Facebook pages and Instagram, that the National MS Society will double the money donations collected for this event. So whatever you may wish to contribute, please know it will be doubled. And that's an amazing opportunity, an amazing thing, show of support from the National MS Society, and it's so appreciated. So, like any event that we have, practically every weekend, we hear about it through television, radio, commercials, everything. There's fundraisers of one sort or another for one purpose or another. They're all important. They all matter. They're all for something good that for society to do to help people. And the purpose of these fundraisers, right, is to raise money for needed medications and treatments. And MS is no different from that. But since our show is MS-centric, as we said from way back in the beginning, even though we address other concerns, and anything is welcome here, as we've said, this episode is going to focus more on the MS nature of the show, because that's my shit. So here we are, right? So I've mentioned my mom in the past with my story with MS, but I think because Mother's Day is around the corner, I think it's a perfect opportunity to kind of dip my toe in that a little bit more. So going back to my mom's diagnosis, and this is in the recent past, right? So it was in the past. It was in the 90s, turn of the century, 2000s and stuff like that. She died in 2017. Okay, so she had MS for 25, 30 years, and she had a progression of it, right? And none of us know what's going to happen in the future, if you have MS or not, right? We don't know. But for my mom, when she was diagnosed at that time, there were some differences, right, between then and now. Back then, as we know, society was different, right? So there was a lack of societal awareness of disabilities, things like that people might have. So because of that, there was also a lack of supports, for it. And my mom and many other people, of course, lived through those times. So for them, I don't know if there was a recognition that anything was lacking. It was just the way the world was back then. So now, today, in 2025, granted, there's a lot of ailments in the world today, but there is an improvement in societal awareness and help for those that need it, largely, for the most part. So that's a good thing. When my mom had it, there were minimal supports, minimal treatments, minimal medications. Everything was either non-existent or experimental or difficult to access. The whole accessibility of the online world, the virtual world today that we all take for granted, right? That wasn't always the reality, and anybody who's older understands that, but that's a fact. So my mom really lived in isolation kind of existence, for in large chunks of her life. She had family, friends, support, and things like that. But in terms of accessing the broader world, around her and deriving any kind of benefit from the supports that might be out there for her, it didn't really exist. So that was just a factor of the times, but now we're in an age where that's not the case, not only for MS, but for many other things. And that's a good thing about living in the world today. And I think we need to, appreciate that. So whatever ails might exist in society today, that's not one of them. We have that awareness. So you could always complain that there's not enough funding and there's not enough supports. That's fair comment to make, but the fact that it does exist today is an improvement over past generations. So that's just a word to the wise, I guess, right? But being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and sharing that with my mom and intuitively kind of comparing my thing with her thing and the times that we lived, I can't help but feel that this is a calling that I've been asked to have for whatever reason, right? It's not for us to decide why we're called to do certain things, but to simply accept them, right? So if we're lucky enough to have faith, we have to recognize that. And I can't help but feel called to do this, to promote this cause, to participate in events to raise awareness and to raise funds to help people, with this. And we try to help all we can, like we, in society, like we try to do with our families and friends and things like that, which is wonderful, and so appreciated, right? But I can't help but feel called to do this. So I have to say that. So a general update, I guess, on me. I've had highs and lows. So over the last time I spoke with you about me, I guess a few months ago now, I've had some really strong highs. I've had days full of energy, moments full of energy, minimal to zero naps and things like that during the day. And I've had vicious, affected days of zero energy, and zero ability to press on and push myself through things. We've had Easter, right, just passed, and that was like the latest holiday. But I've noticed over time, the last couple of years, and most recently here with the passing of, right, Easter just now, holidays crush me. They crush me. And I hate that because, right, everybody, you enjoy the holidays. Of course, there's stressors around that, typical stressors that you have. But you enjoy the holidays, right? But the holidays are tough, they're tough. Building in a routine schedule, a nap schedule, a medication schedule that exists in a normal day is challenging to do that during holiday days. So that has been difficult for me, little hurdle. I've suffered from some pretty severe leg spasms. So again, muscle spasms is a hallmark of MS for a lot of people, and I'm lucky that the only place I get them is in my legs, right? It's not other parts of my body, thank God. And I'm also thankful that I pretty much only get them at night while I'm trying to sleep. That's a good thing. However, it's tough too because as I'm trying to sleep in bed, my leg is, jumping all over the place. So I've struggled with that a few times. It affected my nighttime, my sleep, things like that. But we press on, right? I've also gone through, so it's spring, summer. I've gone through my annual blood work updates. I've had the MRIs, the brain MRIs, the spinal MRIs. I have that wonderful disc in my possession, filled with all the lesions all over my brain and spinal cord. So that's great viewing, right? When you're when you're bored, pop that in the DVD player, your computer, and check that out, right? So we've done that though. Progress, right? I have my doctor's appointment coming up in June with my neurologist down at Penn, Dr. Perrone, who is an awesome guy, and look forward to meeting him again. And then Dina and I have a trip planned to Italy next year. This has been a long time coming, and we're super, super excited about doing it. And it's all positive, right? Family stuff and connections and things like that. Cannot wait to do that. I've never been. My brother, shout out to Paul, goes all the time. Dina's been there twice as a youngster. As a young girl, she was there before we met, and then right when we met. But I've never been, so I'm super, super excited for that. However, given my condition, precautions need to be taken. There's some stress around typical travel, but then with my situation, of course, there's a little bit extra stress. So we'll talk more about this in the coming shows, but one day recently, Dina brought it up to me, and my initial reaction was to kind of flip out on her. I'm like, no one's gonna limit me, and I could do whatever, like things like, like an idiot, reacted with anger. But she was right. I mean, we have to plan it, so MS does not have to limit you. And I've said that. That's a wonderful thing about my diagnosis now. I have no limitations. However, I do have to plan things. And this is no different. Okay, so we need to plan this trip. I'm sure we'll be talking more about that. So we're working through it, right? And that's a new layer of shit, I guess, that I'm dealing with. So we'll be talking more about that. That's one thing with the shit that we have, right? We think it exists, and that's all that exists. But as we live our lives, right, we find that we have different layers of the same shit or different types of shit that we have to deal with. But nonetheless, that is life. So circle back to the start of our show here today. So why we're doing this latest MS walk here at the Blakely Borough Recreation Complex next Saturday, May 10th. Why we're doing it? It's a fundraiser. Okay? The efforts that are needed are so appreciated, so thankful for all the help and support that I've gotten, that the MS community has gotten over the last few months and years and things like that. So we're very, very, very grateful. I'm a direct beneficiary of the funding that's raised. The medications I'm able to take today didn't exist in the past. And I'm fully aware of that. And I'm so thankful that I'm able to get medications that help me with energy levels, help me with balance. So it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And there's so much more knowledge and awareness about it. So I'm thankful for that. And I'm doing my small part to promote it as best I can. So getting ready to close up here. Brief episode today. And we'll get back into our regular routine next time. But if anybody wants more information about the walk, you can reach out to either Dina or I on Facebook or Instagram, or give a call. So we will answer any questions we can. Thank you for the support. Okay. Our close today, I get the privilege of doing the close. Today's close is a Bible quote. So we've touched on spirituality in the past, but spirituality is a big part of my life, and I know many of our listeners as well. So I can't live without it, and I can't imagine not having a spiritual anchor in my life. So I'm by no means a biblical scholar or awareness or anything like that. Just a guy doing my best, right? We're just trying to get by, get through the world day by day and do what we have to do and treat other people the right way. But, all right, so today's quote comes from Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10. So, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. That's strength. That's strength. If that doesn't give you encouragement to carry on, I don't know what will. Okay. So, thank you all for spending some time with us and for listening to We All Have Shit. Remember that even though we will always have some kind of shit in our lives, the best we can do is stay positive, have faith, and help where we can. So, until next time, onward.